Green flag just going back in the air. And Matt Crafton charging to the lead on the bottom of the racetrack. Actually, Matt Crafton a lap down, but he's trying to be on the lead lap.
Chrissy Wallace is leading for a moment. Timothy Peters fighting back on the outside.
Again, Matt Crafton losing a lap after his right rear tire went down on the racetrack. He had to come in. He lost that lap. Now he's out in front of the field, so he's at the back, the tail end of the lead lap right now.
Chrissy had that lead from the most part of the lap, Phil. She couldn't quite hold off the train that was coming from behind with Eric Almirola. And is that his teammate Kyle Busch pushing him?
That's Brian Scott in that 16 truck that jumped outside of Chrissy Wallace.
And here comes Kyle Busch to the back bumper of the 16 of Brian Scott. Brian Scott, your leader, is across the start-finish line. Kyle Busch running second.
Mike Skinner lined up behind Kyle Busch in the third position on the inside row. There's Timothy Peters on the outside. Chad McCumbee, the 07 T-Wee Chevrolet, right behind him.
There comes the truck of Almirola. He's up to the 5th spot. Fighting down on the bottom of the racetrack. Everybody's sort of liking that bottom once they get sorted out, Phil.
Yeah, I think it takes a pretty special draft on the outside to make any ground up. Right now, Chad McCumbee is the first truck on the outside. Top of Dine's trying to fight back from that spin on pit road. He did not put tires on when he came back in the pits. He just did fuel his second pit stop.
Ray Dunlap right now, that 5 of Mike Skinner running in the 3rd spot.
Yeah, he's in a good position, Rick, but he just came on the radio and said, somebody tell Kyle Spotter that I don't have a strong enough grill on this to go up and bump draft with him and help him the way he was helping me earlier when he was in the behind position and giving us a great push to the lead. He said, we just don't have that in this particular truck. I'll stay right with him and not hang him out, but I'm not going to be able to bump draft.
Again, Brian Scott out in front in his Toyota Tundra. Right behind him, another Toyota, then another Toyota, and then the Ford of Colin Brown running 4th right now.
Saw Kyle Busch pull up to the rear bumper of Brian Scott. Todd goes way high on the outside, losing ground. Something may be wrong with Todd Bodine.
That outside line, or at least the second line, has been moving, but just outside of it in that 30, Todd Bodine looks to be shuffled back.
Sounds like it's running okay.
Adam Alexander, is there a problem with this truck?
He just came on the radio and said they hung us out, so he's going to have to make another rally. And you can see him pulling to the outside again, but he has had no indication of a problem with the truck. He simply said, we lost the draft and we got to make it up again.
Amazingly enough, you can see when he gets back there about 2, 3, 4 truck lengths, he gets a huge run, and if he'd have some help, he'd be able to run to the front.
Stacy Compton pulls out from around, makes it 3 wide, as the 8 of Dennis Setzer right behind him.
Talking about Matt Crafton, he's currently riding along in the Aaron's Lucky Dog spot. Mike Wallace got the Lucky Dog during that last caution, so Mike got a lap back and Chrissy was leading the race. That was a pretty, or excuse me, Steve Park got his lap back. He and Mike Wallace were racing hard for that Lucky Dog, and Steve Park got it back, so now he's in contention.
Timothy Peters on that outside line in the Strut Masters number 17. And now we see the 88 coming out to see if he can get into that second line and see if it moves. Here comes Eric Almirola in the 15. He'll go to the back bumper of the 88, see if they can make that top line move.
Here's Mario Goslin, Terry Cook, the Cajun Toyota. There's Norm Benning. Norm has a great run going.
Look at that line.
Justin Hopkins goes by. There's Dennis Setzer.
This time by, it will be the halfway point. We will have completed 47 laps. You see that 33 of Ron Hornaday down toward the bottom of the racetrack. Here comes Timothy Peters moving by him on the outside. Ray Dunlap.
Yeah, Hornaday is to the back of the pack right now, no doubt about it, but you'll notice that the Monster Energy Drink Chevrolet right behind him, that's his teammate Ricky Carmichael, and Hornaday came on the radio saying, make sure Ricky stays with me when I go to the high side. Looks like Hornaday's getting ready to go there. He's coming up through the middle. We'll see if the Ford goes with him. He's going to need some help in the middle.
How about Matt Crafton trying to get that truck toward the front?
Wow,
we saw a little.
These two have.
Yeah, we saw a bobble early on by the 33 of Hornaday's team with a quick flap coming off, and now Crafton moves all the way to the front of the field. Again, he has to get a lap back, though. He is 1 lap down. He's trying to race back that lap.
That's a nice push by Eric Almirola. I think that 15 truck is by far one of the strongest trucks we have in the field right now.
That's the biggest push I've seen today. Crafton on the on the nose of Eric Almirola. They drove all the way to the front. Check that out.
Eric Almirola will lead that lap.
Eric Almirola out in front. He was pushing the 88 of Matt Crafton. He was able to get just in front of Brian Scott by 13/1000th of a second.
Oh, look at Terry Cook.
Terry Cook looking to the inside, trying to go in the middle. Eric Almirola and Matt Crafton closing the door now.
Check out Almirola's hood flaps. His nose flaps are flopping up and down just like Hornaday's did when he was tucked up underneath the truck. So those things are vulnerable to flop around if you get really close to a truck in front of you.
How about this outside line now moving very well around the inside line?
And we have great trucks lined up in the inside. Brian Scott, Kyle Busch, the 5 of Mike Skinner, Colin Brown all on the inside, and the outside line's holding its own at least.
Adam Alexander, what's happening with Eric Almirola?
He is very confident, Rick, and he likes his truck despite the fact that he's only been here 5 different times. 3 in the Sprint Cup Series, 1 in Nationwide, and 1 start in the trucks back in 2007. So he hasn't had a lot of experience here at Talladega, never has recorded a top 10, but he was one of those drivers that felt like his truck did everything it needed to do in practice yesterday, and that has related well to the race here this afternoon.
Terry Cook gets hung out now as the front truck of Matt Crafton gets in front of at least enough room for the 15. A little contact there. Down to the bottom of the racetrack goes Johnny Sauter in the 13. He was pushed down there, so that's not going to be a penalty.
Well, and I love the job Johnny Sauter did right there. He just said, I got room over here to the left. We got a little bit of a problem. I'm going to get out of the way. Mario Goslin has been steady and strong in that MyTireMonkey.com truck. This is a great story. His kids down on pit road dressed up like monkeys, and then I'll be a monkey's uncle. He ended up in the front of the pack all day long.
But Ray stole all the kids' candy yesterday during our qualifying show.
Watch what Mario decides to do. He's going to go inside
J.R. Fitzpatrick in the 29.
In the 29, and then gets a little contact. And watch Johnny Sauter. He said, I'm getting out of the way. That's just a great move.
And remember now, you can go below that yellow line as long as you don't advance your position. Obviously, Johnny didn't do that.
Got right back in line just behind that 6 of Colin Brown. You see a little shuffling of position just in front of that group. 2 and 3 wide. We saw Max Pappas make a heck of a move to the inside as he charges toward the front now.
They're coming with you. 4 with you.
Max Pappas in the 5th position, or 6th position now.
Getting crazy out there.
It is getting unbelievable. Adam Alexander.
Rick, we were talking just a moment ago about Mario Goslin, a nice job he's done today. And so many times when you see a driver like Mario, somewhat underfunded, competing at this stage of the race, you think it has to be related to strategy, but that's not the case. They came down like all the other leaders at lap 8, put fuel in the truck. They went 4 tires and came back and topped off with fuel at laps 40 and 41. And while he has slid back in the draft a bit, this is a team who feels very competitive here today, Ray.
And you see Taylor Malsom back in the back part of the pack there in the number 81. He is in 21st position right now. The reason is his truck is way too loose coming off the corner. On the last round of pit stops, they dropped the track bar 2 rounds, but he said it just feels like it didn't make any difference to that 180 Toyota.
Usually handling isn't as much of a factor here at Talladega as it is a lot of other tracks, but one of those things gets loose up in the middle of that draft, and you got your hands full.
Max is looking for a line right now. He wants to stay in front of somebody and see if that line will move. He jumps in front of the 33 of Ron Hornaday, and now Hornaday says, no, I'm not going to stay behind you, but they'll get shuffled back.
That's Todd Bodine, Todd Bodine right behind Max.
Looks like Todd doesn't want to run with his teammate either. He went a little going high on Max.
Max is going to pull it down to the inside, but Terry Cook now is taking that spot in the middle of the racetrack. Todd's going to go around the outside to make it 4 wide.
4 wide through the tri-oval across the stripe. Again, Matt Crafton is at the tail end of the lead lap. Our race leader is Eric Almirola. Brian Scott, Kyle Busch, Mike Skinner, Colin Brown are your top 5 as they cross the stripe. Johnny Sauter, Chad McCumbee, Stacy Compton, Mario Goslin, and Terry Cook are your top 10 at Talladega Superspeedway. Only 41 laps remain to find out who will visit victory lane today.